French-Canadian gentleman, Alphonse Desjardins. Alphonse Desjardins was a Quebecer born in 1854, known as the founder of the Caisses Populaires, cooperative savings and credit societies, and a key figure in the Desjardins group. His work, beginning with the first Caisse Populaire in Lévis in 1900, provided financial services to ordinary Quebecers who were underserved by traditional banks, leading to the creation of a major financial institution. Desjardins had a prestigious career as a journalist, editor, soldier, and politician in addition to his cooperative work. He even held the positions of senator and mayor of Montreal. As a self-taught economist, he realized that many French Canadians, particularly those living in rural areas, lacked access to financial institutions. After learning of a parliamentary debate in 1897 about a worker who was compelled to pay back excessive interest on a modest debt, inspiration struck. On December 6, 1900, he established the first Caisse Populaire in Lévis. This cooperative model became a major financial force in Quebec by providing regular people with credit and saving services. The Historic Sites and Monuments Board of Canada has designated him a National Historic Person. For his humanitarian efforts, he also won important international recognition, including an honor from the Vatican. Jewish Canadian gentleman, A.M. Klein. A.M. Klein was a leading Canadian modern poet, novelist, and lawyer of the mid-20th century, born in Ukraine and immigrating to Montreal as a child. Influenced by his Orthodox Jewish upbringing and his study at McGill University, he was a key figure in the Montreal group of poets and a prominent voice in Anglo-Jewish culture. His work, including his Governor General's award-winning collection, The Rocking Chair, and other poems, explored Jewish themes, the character of Quebec, and a broader Jewish experience, culminating in his novel, The Second Scroll. A leading figure in Jewish Canadian culture, he was among the first to publish substantial works of Jewish poetry in English, often focusing on the Jewish experience of the time. He was designated a National Historic Person by the Canadian government in 2007 for his significant contributions to Canadian literature and culture. Jewish Canadian gentleman. founded in 1951 after the Royal Canadian Yacht Club refused to accept him on account of his being Jewish. Jewish Canadian gentleman David Croll. David Arnold Croll was a Jewish politician from Canada who lived from 1900 until 1991. Twice, he was Windsor, Ontario's mayor. During World War II, he joined the Canadian Army as a private in the Essex Scottish Regiment and advanced to the rank of lieutenant colonel. Holding the office of mayor during the Great Depression's darkest moments, he gained notoriety as a social reformer when he demanded that the city incur a loss in order to fund programs for the poor and jobless. When Croll was appointed Minister of Public Welfare, he became the first Jewish cabinet minister in Canada. He became Canada's first Jewish senator when he was appointed to the Senate in 1955. Croll was the author of the influential 1971 report of the Special Senate Committee on Poverty, which began with the words, "The poor do not choose poverty." He was sworn into the Queen's Privy Council for Canada in 1990, an honor often reserved for federal cabinet members, in appreciation of his accomplishment. Canadian gentleman athlete Eldridge. Magna Electronics. In 1973, the company's name was changed from Multimatic Investments Limited to Magna International Ltd. Stronach was born as Franz Strosak in Klein, Styria, Austria, to working-class parents of Croatian heritage. Immigrated to Canada from Austria in 1955 with only $50 and began a successful business career in Toronto, which included menial jobs before starting his own machine shop in steadfast devotion to his beliefs, demonstrated by his choice for upholding his ideas over gaining political power, cemented his status as a crucial figure in Quebec's intellectual and political history. He was a powerful voice for French Canadians who felt inferior to English Canadians. Scottish-Canadian gentlemen entrepreneurs, the Irving family. The history of the Irving family started in Scotland with the enterprising immigrants who established the family, which subsequently grew into a huge Canadian conglomerate. James D. Irving and K.C. Irving, J.D. Irving's grandchildren, laid the groundwork for the future diverse conglomerate. Descendants of Clan Irving of Bonshaw, a well-known Scottish family with a history dating back to the 11th century in Dumfriesshire. In 1882, J.D. Irving established the business with a sawmill in Bouctouche, New Brunswick. K.C. Irving, J.D.'s son, assumed control of the family firm and greatly extended it into other fields, including the establishment of Irving Oil in 1924. The family owns a large number of private businesses in a variety of industries, including forestry. New Brunswick's biggest employer in the private sector is J.D. Irving Limited. Irving Oil Limited, which runs the biggest oil refinery in Canada. They own radio stations and newspapers, is considered media. Various other endeavors include real estate, retail, construction, shipbuilding, and transportation. The family's success in Canada earned them recognition as one of the country's most important entrepreneurs. K.C. was a dedicated philanthropist who supported organizations including Ducks Unlimited Scholarships and Acadia University's K.C. Irving Environmental Science Center despite his desire for solitude. Canadian gentleman John Diefenbaker. John Diefenbaker was the 13th Prime Minister of Canada, serving from 1957 to 1963, and was the only progressive conservative leader between 1930 and 1979 to win an election victory for his party. Diefenbaker's dedication to rights was demonstrated by the creation of the Canadian Bill of Rights and the awarding of voting rights to Inuit and First Nations peoples. He was the first to elect an Indigenous person to the Senate and a female minister to his government. He was vital in the St. Lawrence Seaway, and other infrastructure projects were built as a result of the Diefenbaker Canada Centennials Act, which was passed to commemorate Canada's centennial. The 1960 Bill of Rights. This historic law established fundamental rights and freedoms and was the first step toward a Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Diefenbaker was a strong advocate for Canada's role on the global stage, focusing on strengthening ties with Commonwealth nations and promoting human rights internationally. British-Canadian gentleman John Molson. John Molson was a well-known English immigrant and businessman in Montreal, Canada, in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. Molson Brewery, which is still a part of Molson Coors, was created by him in 1786. By investing in the first Canadian Railroad, 1836, and constructing Canada's first steamer, 1809, Molson made a substantial contribution to the transportation revolution. He also played a key role in the city's development by introducing steam power to industry, founding or supporting institutions like the Bank of Montreal and the Montreal General Hospital, and contributing to the Montreal Gas Light Company. He founded the Molson Brewery in Montreal on the St. Lawrence River in 1786. As soon as the brewery gained fame, Molson started additional businesses. He was an active entrepreneur who initially worked as both his own brewmaster and maltster. When it came to implementing new transportation technologies, Molson was a pioneer. In 1809, he built Canada's first steamboat. He played a significant role in the funding and building of the Champlain and St. Lawrence Railroad in 1836, which served as a vital conduit between Lake Champlain and the St. Lawrence River. Molson thought that organizations like hospitals, schools, and colleges should aid in the growth of the community. Because of his contributions to the industrial and economic development of the Canadas and the development of Montreal as a commercial hub, John Molson is honored as a national historic figure. Italian-Canadian gentleman Johnny Lombardi. One of Canada's first multicultural broadcasters was Johnny Lombardi, 1915 to 2002. In 1966, he established Chin, and in 1967, Chin FM. The Lombardi family moved to Toronto from Basilicata, Italy. In the 1930s, he played lead trumpet for the London-based Benny Palmer Orchestra, a well-known big band from Ontario. In 1942, he joined the Canadian Army during World War II and was assigned to Europe, where he helped capture Juno Beach. He was an Army sergeant who used his trumpet to amuse the soldiers during the conflict. He promoted his supermarket on an hour-long Italian music show that he produced for CHUM and then CKFH to start his broadcasting career. The show was successful and his store flourished. Lombardi started promoting athletic events and music, a proponent of multiculturalism prior to its adoption as a policy of the Canadian government. In 1966 and 1967, he and James Service established Chin, one of Canada's first multilingual radio stations, and Chin FM, which broadcasted to more than 30 ethnic communities. By 1968, Chin had 32 languages available for broadcasting. On June 6, 1994, Prime Minister Jean Chrétien invited Lombardi, who had been awarded the Order of Canada, to mark the 50th anniversary of the D-Day invasion of Normandy, in which he had first taken part. The Italian Walk of Fame in Toronto, which honors Italians or the descendants of Italian immigrants who have proven an exceptional level of performance within their respective disciplines, included Lombardi as one of its 6 founding honorees. Canadian gentleman Joseph Cunard. Joseph Cunard, 1799 to 1865, was a merchant, shipbuilder, and political figure in New Brunswick. He represented Northumberland County in the Legislative Assembly of New Brunswick from 1828 to 1833. Cunard was born into a family of United Empire Loyalist German Quaker settlers in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Around 1820, with his brothers Henry and Samuel, he opened a branch of the family timber business in Chatham, New Brunswick. The firm operated mills, wharves, a store, and shipyards there. The business expanded to include operations at Shiphegan, Couchabowak, Richibucto, and Bathurst. In 1831, the company purchased stores, houses, and other buildings at Bathurst, and the next year began shipping timber. Exports of lumber from Bathurst rose from 1,300 tons in 1829 to 26,500 tons in 1833. In 1832, Joseph Cunard was described as one of the wealthiest and most influential merchants in the province. At Chatham, his firm owned several mills, including a large steam mill, which began operations in 1836 and sawed 40,000 feet of lumber a day. In the same town, the firm also had a brickworks, several stores, a counting house employing 30 people, and at least 2 shipyards. Cunard was also a justice of the peace and served on the Board of Health for Northumberland County. In 1833, he was named to the province's Legislative Council. Cunard also served on the province's Executive Council from 1838 to 1843. Polish-Canadian Gintman Karol Józef Krotki. Karol Józef Krotki was a well-known Polish-Canadian demographer who lived from 1922 until 2007. Still a youngster, After World War II, waves of European, Caribbean, and Asian immigrants further diversified the neighborhood. Predominantly from Eastern Europe, work to maintain the market's unique identity and prevent the encroachment of chain stores, reinforcing its local character. Jewish Canadian gentleman Larry Tannenbaum. Larry Tannenbaum is a prominent Canadian businessman, philanthropist, and sports executive, best known as the chairman of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, MLSE. Born in Toronto, Larry Tannenbaum was raised with a strong sense of family and community from his parents, particularly his father, a self-made immigrant who instilled the values of hard work and perseverance. He graduated from Cornell University in 1968 with a degree in economics. Tannenbaum became the chairman and CEO of Kilmer Van Nostrand, the family's civil engineering and construction company, after serving as president from 1968 to 2000. Under his leadership, Kilmer expanded beyond construction into innovative real estate development, infrastructure, and public-private partnerships. In 1991, Tannenbaum spearheaded the effort to bring an NBA franchise to Toronto. Tannenbaum has served as the chairman of MLSE, a position that makes him a central figure in Canadian sports. He has also served as a governor for the NBA, NHL, and Major League Soccer. In recognition of his extensive contributions in philanthropy, business, and volunteerism, Tannenbaum was appointed an officer of the Order of Canada in October 2000. Tannenbaum remains deeply involved with various healthcare and charitable organizations at both local and national levels. His involvement also extends to his Jewish heritage and community-building efforts. Romanian-Canadian gentleman Leon Katz. Leon Katz, 1924 to 2014, was a Romanian-Canadian biomedical engineer and officer of the Order of Canada who was instrumental in developing medical devices, including the heart-lung bypass machine for Canada's first open-heart surgery. At 19, Katz volunteered for the Canadian Army, served as an officer in the British Army, and covertly assisted the Jewish Brigade in rescuing Jews from the Holocaust. After completing his studies in electrical engineering in 1950, he went on to biomedical engineering and eventually invented a staggering array of breakthroughs in several medical specialties. Katz was employed by famed neurosurgeon Dr. Wilder Penfield at the Montreal Neurological Institute in the early 1950s as a biomedical engineer. Katz created tools that let Penfield make groundbreaking findings about the human brain and associated illnesses. One of Katz's most noteworthy achievements was the design and operation of Canada's first heart-lung bypass machine, which was subsequently utilized in thousands of open-heart surgeries. Many people have previously passed away because they were unable to survive surgery without Katz's bypass pump. Katz was an officer of the Order of Canada, one of his many honors. He was honored with the Order of Ontario and the World Society of Cardiothoracic Surgeons Living Legend Award. He received the titles of Fellow of the Engineering Institute of Canada and Member Emeritus of the Canadian Medical and Biological Engineering Society. Swiss gentleman David Sprungli and Rodolphe Lindt. Lindt chocolate originated with the Sprungli family's Zurich confectionery in 1845, but the company's modern identity was forged in 1879 when Rodolphe Lindt invented the revolutionary conching process, creating a smoother, melt-in-your-mouth chocolate. In 1899, Lindt's Bern chocolate factory was acquired by Sprungli, which then merged with the Lindt name to form Lindt and Sprungli. Today, Lindt and Sprungli is a leading premium chocolate manufacturer known for its innovative and high-quality chocolate products. The first solid chocolate bar in German-speaking Switzerland was created by David Sprungli and his son Rudolf when they founded a confectionery in Zurich. The son of a pharmacist, Rodolphe Lindt, established his own chocolate business in Bern. He created the conching process in 1879, a groundbreaking technique allowing hours of continuous mixing and aeration of chocolate. Johann Rudolf Sprungli bought Lindt's chocolate business in Bern in 1899. The business changed its name to Gesellschaft Varianite Berner und Zürcher Schokoladefabriken Lindt and Sprungli after merging with Rodolphe Lindt's factory the same year. Lindt and Sprungli continued its growth, significantly contributing to the flourishing Swiss chocolate industry, especially after the First World War. The company expanded globally, establishing subsidiaries and distributor businesses in key markets. French-Canadian gentleman Lionel Graux. An influential Quebec priest, historian, and nationalist thinker, Abbé Lionel Graux, 1878 to 1967, promoted French-Canadian culture and pushed for Quebec's independence. He established the Institut d'Histoire de l'Amérique Française, lectured at the University of Montreal, and promoted French-Canadian survival through his numerous publications, such as the monthly L'Action Française. He is credited with motivating the generation that led the Quiet Revolution and forming Quebec's national identity. For many years, Quebec's intellectual and nationalist discourse was greatly impacted by Graux's historical perspective, which placed a strong emphasis on the valiant actions of New France and the right to self-government. In order to promote historical studies, he also established the Institut d'Histoire de l'Amérique Française in 1946. French-Canadian gentleman Louis-Honoré Fréchette. Prominent French-Canadian poet, politician, and writer Louis-Honoré Fréchette was well known in the 19th century for his literary creations and fervent nationalism, which he conveyed in plays like Félix Poudre and poetry like Legend d'un Peuple. In 1880, he became the first Quebecer to win the French Academy's coveted Prix Montyon for his works of poetry, Les Fleurs Boréales and Les Oiseaux de Neige. Beyond his work in writing, Fréchette was a prominent, although complicated, figure in Canadian politics and letters as a member of Parliament for Lévis, and then as the clerk of the Quebec Legislative Council. Fréchette fervently advocated for French-Canadian history and culture. His writings frequently represented his liberal nationalist beliefs and praised his ancestry. Because of Louis-Honoré Fréchette's impact, Parts Canada named him a National Historic Person on May 20th, 1937. His fervent political and literary contributions have had a lasting impact on French-Canadian society. Italian-Canadian gentlemen, the Muzzo brothers, Marco and Elio. Brothers Marco Muzzo and Elio emigrated from northern Italy in the 1950s, initially working in trades such as plastering and drywall. They built a significant real estate empire and co-founded Merrill Contractors, a major drywall company. Their business success eventually led to extensive work in real estate development and infrastructure. Along with partners Alfredo de Gasperis and the Brady brothers, he made significant bets on the potential of suburban sprawl, a strategy that proved highly successful, adding residential, commercial, industrial, and institutional properties. Before his death, the elder Marco Muzzo led the Pemberton Group, a condominium development company. The Muzzo family has a history of philanthropic giving, with the elder Marco being a founder of Villa Charities. Canadian gentleman Peter Gilgan. Growing up as one of 7 children in a pragmatic, thrifty, and diligent family, Gilgan learned the value of maximizing few resources and began his first job at the age of 13, obtaining early exposure to business at a plumbing distribution company. Prior to starting his own business, he worked as an accountant and followed a conventional educational path. He established the home-building business Mattamy Homes in 1978, and he grew it to become North America's biggest privately held home builder. Gilgan's emphasis on creating planned communities with well-considered amenities, infrastructure, and design became a defining characteristic of Mattamy's projects. In addition, he established Mattamy Asset Management, which serves as the parent company for a variety of enterprises and investments. Motivated by his parents' focus on community, Gilgan uses his foundation to assist a variety of healthcare, education, and sports programs, funding the Mattamy Athletic Center at the former Maple Leaf Gardens, making a sizable donation to St. Joseph's Health Center, and supporting a host of other charities are just a few examples of his noteworthy philanthropic donations. For his creative leadership in the building sector and his charitable contributions, he was awarded the Order of Canada. For his commercial and charitable contributions, he was also awarded the Order of Ontario. Italian-Canadian gentleman Robert Bozza. Robert Bozza is a prominent Canadian real estate developer and the founder of Bozza Properties. After immigrating from Italy with his family in the late 1950s, he co-founded Bozza Brothers Construction with his brother Nat in 1966 before establishing his own company, Bozza Properties. Through hard work and fair dealings, Robert became a symbol of excellence in construction, with a focus on delivering for people. Bozza Properties focuses on residential, commercial, and master plan projects, emphasizing craftsmanship and building trusted relationships. The Bozza family has a history of giving back, including supporting BCIT through the BCIT Robert Bozza Carpentry Pavilion and establishing the Bozza Family Foundation, which supports underprivileged children, youth, and their families. Canadian gentleman Robert Campo. Robert Campo, 1923 to 2017, was a Canadian financier and real estate developer. Starting from a single house constructed in 1940 in the Alta Vista neighborhood of Ottawa, Ontario, Campo built a large land development corporation around the development of the suburb of Canada. Born in Chelmsford, Ontario, Campo's formal education ended in grade 8 at the age of 14. He worked in jobs at Inco as a general laborer, carpenter, and machinist. In 1949, he entered the residential end of the construction business. One of the largest real estate companies in Canada, Campo Corp has been operating in the U.S. since 1978. In 1985, Campo Corp was involved in development projects in Canada and the U.S. that involved a total expenditure of over $1 billion. In the early 1970s, Campo took over the redevelopment of Toronto's waterfront, which included the new Toronto Ferry Terminal, Harbour Square condos, and the Harbour Castle Hotel. His later Toronto developments included 1988's Scotia Tower. He founded the Robert Campo Family Foundation in Canada, 1980. The purpose of the foundation is to support civic and social qualified charitable organizations. Italian-Canadian gentleman Rudolph Bratti. The Bratti family immigrated from Friuli, Italy in 1922, brought up in a tradition of deep responsibility to his community. He became one of Toronto's most successful real estate developers, head of his family's development company, the Remington Group, and a partner in the law firm of Bratti & Partners. Rudy embraced his parents' philosophy in his law practice. Education breeds intelligence. Intelligence breeds understanding, and understanding breeds resolution. From developing residential communities and the Ontario Sport Hall of Fame in 1996. Italian-Canadian gentleman, Sam Premucci. Premucci was just 12 years old when he and his family immigrated to Canada from the small town of Palazzo San Gervasio in the Basilicata region of Italy. By 14, Premucci started working at a children's clothing manufacturer, where he worked his way up to manager of more than 150 sewers by age 23. Michael, his brother, who was delivering pizzas, so persuaded Sam and their other brothers to create their own takeout pizza shop and capitalize on the new delivery craze. 11 years after Premucci and his family moved to Canada, on May 12, 1963, the first Pizza Nova shop opened. The family grew the company, which now has more than 150 locations and has produced thousands of jobs and franchise business prospects. Premucci, who has lived in Canada for 71 years, is appreciative of the opportunity this nation has given him and people like him. Premucci and his colleagues have raised millions of dollars for significant causes in his adopted nation by cultivating partnerships with enduring philanthropic partners, including Variety Ontario, Villa Charities, and Student Nutrition of Ontario throughout the years. Jewish-Canadian gentleman, Samuel Bronfman. Samuel Bronfman, 1889 to 1971, was a Canadian businessman, philanthropist, and member of the Canadian Bronfman family. He founded Distillers Corporation Limited and purchased the Seagram Company, that became the world's largest liquor distilling firm. He and his parents were Jewish refugees of Tsarist Russia's anti-Semitic pogroms. In 1903, the family bought a hotel business, and noting that much of the profit was in alcoholic beverages, set up shop as a liquor distributor. He founded the Distillers Corporation in Montreal in 1924, specializing in cheap whiskey, and concurrently taking advantage of the U.S. prohibition on alcoholic beverages. Bronfman's Distillers Corporation acquired Joseph E. Seagram and Sons of Waterloo, Ontario, from the heirs of Joseph Seagram in 1928. Bronfman eventually built an empire based on the appeal of brand names developed previously by Seagram, including Calvert, Dewar's, and Seven Crown, to higher-level consumers. His sales were boosted during the United States abortive experiment with Prohibition, and he was apparently able to do so while staying within the confines of both Canadian law, where Prohibition laws had been previously repealed, and American law. In 1952, he established the Samuel and Sidai Bronfman Family Foundation, one of Canada's major private granting foundations. Bronfman was president of the Canadian Jewish Congress from 1939 to 1962, and he was made a companion of the Order of Canada in 1967. Jewish-Canadian gentleman, Sidney Schulemson. Sidney Simon Schulemson was a Canadian fighter pilot and Canada's highest decorated Jewish soldier during World War II. Growing up in Montreal, Schulemson attended McGill University. He enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force on September 10, 1939, and graduated from flight school in 1942. He joined RCAF 404 Squadron in Wick in Scotland, flying a Bristol Beaufighter. Schulemson downed a German flying boat on his first sortie. He pioneered techniques for rocket attacks on Axis ships in the North Atlantic. His leadership was greatly valued, with the officer remarking after the war that the guys on my squadron would follow me into hell and back. They had a lot of faith in what I could do. Gentlemen military soldiers, the 92th Infantry Division, the Buffalo Boys. Known as the Buffalo Soldiers, this all-black battalion fought mainly in Italy during World Wars I and II. Through acts of individual bravery and group bravery, The troops of the 92nd gained a renowned history despite racial segregation and suspicion from their own leaders. Although the division saw little action in France during World War I, and most of its members were assigned to support duties, it did receive some recognition from the French for its efforts. The 92nd Division was the first all-black combat division sent to Italy after being reorganized in 1942. By fighting against German forces, they dispelled stereotypes and gained the admiration of both other soldiers and Italian civilians. Many 92nd soldiers showed extraordinary bravery in spite of the biased atmosphere. Examples of this may be found in the cases of Sergeant John Fox and Lieutenant Vernon Baker, who were posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for their deeds in Italy. Italian-Canadian gentleman Vittorio Danson. Danson was born in August 1941 in a small town 30 minutes from Venice and spent most of his youth working on his father's farm. After immigrating to Canada in 1962, founded Royal Group Technologies in 1970, a major plastics company. Danson initially worked for his brother's small plastic extrusion business and later for another company, Pillar Plastics. In 1970, Danson, with partners, launched Royal Plastics from a small building north of Toronto. The company specialized in PVC products and grew rapidly after receiving government research and development funding and expanding into the U.S. market in 1973. Royal Group also pioneered cutting-edge technology in plastic extrusion. Danson has made significant contributions to his community, including a $0 million donation to help build the Mackenzie Vaughan Hospital and funding for a facility for people with developmental disabilities. He received the Order of Canada and a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Vinyl Institute for his contributions to the industry.